So I see that as like there's some specific vocabulary in there, there's the notation in terms of f of x and what that represents and how we would graph that. But what would you say the core math idea is of what we want them to understand that would meet this standard and that they would get from completing this investigation?
Just after this investigation, I would say if they just knew that one input produced exactly one output instead of going to multiple outputs, would be a good core value to
Yeah, absolutely, because that's an understanding, because kids can go through a lot of procedures and they can do a lot in here, but do they really understand that for a function, that for every input there's only one output that I can get out. If I put in 1, I can't get out 5, and then the other time get out 11. I can only get out one value. So that's what we're really honing in on this first investing on to now is in kind of building some context and the kids creating their own function. So in the book it has this problem involving purchasing CDs online, and I don't know about you guys, but I haven't purchased a CD online forever.
I don't think the kids know what a CD is.
They don't. So I was thinking that we could modify this a little bit. So I typed it up, so I'll definitely want to give the kids a handout of the problem, some of the reading strategies too that support all of our learners is give them an opportunity to just read the problem first on their own. We can project it on the Promethean board, highlight it as a class then what they think are the important parts of the problem.
Do you read it aloud after they read it, just to make sure everybody
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So I'll have them read it on their own. They kind of do any annotations that they see. I'll read it out loud to the class, and then have, after that, then ask them what they think is important and annotate and highlight. So why don't we take a minute right now to actually look at the problem, do the problem, maybe at least for the infinity scarf at the top, so then we can kind of anticipate what we think the kids will do on there.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, are we gonna let them have calculators?
I think we should let the kids use calculators. They're gonna be able to use it on their Smarter Balanced Assessment as well, so.
Well, and the purpose is not to get bogged down
Yeah, it's
on
not
this
about-
math, right? It's
Right.
to see if we can look for patterns
Yeah.
and, okay.
I'm looking.
Okay.
So what other things do we anticipate them doing, or any,
I'm
errors
worried
they
about
make?
the tax, the 8%, then
Okay.
putting in 0.8.
Yes.
Multiplying by 0.8 instead of 0.08. I
Okay.
think we have to just be aware when we're walking around.
Yeah.
I think something that has come up in the past with my students is where to put that discount and where to put the tax. Do you put the discount before the tax or after the tax?
Right.
Right.
And I think that
And-
will go to with the shipping fee as well.
Well, and in the actual problem, there is a hint here in parentheses that says the tax is after the discount.
I think where's the shipping, where do they put that shipping fee? Because do they add it on to the $18.99 in the beginning, or do they take it
Oh,
after discount, after tax? Because then that shifts the answers.
That'll definitely change things, because if they end up taxing that shipping, then they'll be paying more tax than if they were just taxing the price.
Right.
So this is, we've talked a lot about the NCTM 5 practices in our PDs and out at site. So the 5 practices, that's our anticipating. The next step for me then is monitoring and looking for what the kids are doing while they're working with their partners. And so I'll look for all of those things. And then I'm going to select some students to come to the board, and I want to select and sequence them in a particular order. I don't want to pick the right kid to start with, or the 100% right group.
Stop the whole class.
Yeah, we're done.
right,
And
but
I-
when you
so
say
then
you're
I'll
picking a
set-
kid, you mean a group
a
is
group.
coming up.
Yeah,
Okay,
But I don't want, so I want to make sure that whoever I pick to come up, that it's going to be one of these things where common errors. So I'll look for a group that's maybe making one of the errors that other groups are making, and I want to address it. So I'll call them up, and then it'll also give us a good opportunity to have a lot of that discussion as a class, and give them a chance to repeat each other's thinking. I want the focus to be on the thinking during that discussion part, and what, why they were doing things in a particular way, not just is it right or is it wrong.
So can I clarify, you are gonna on purpose pick people who made mistakes?
Yes.
to stir the conversation with the groups.
Yes.
That goes into that,
Looking for common mistakes.
Yes.
that math practice standard 3 of
Yeah.
critiquing,
Right.
reasoning of others and analyzing their work.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. I
And making them all comfortable, it's okay to have the wrong answer at the board, because we're a team.
We're in
building
this
that
together, and I'll
community.
have the chairs turned like a little audience, so
Mhm.
everybody, pencils down, we're just focusing on the thinking kind of all in this together.
Mhm. Wonderful.
So after that kind of public debate time, and we kind of just finalize what this, how we get to this calculation, the kids are gonna notice that this was extremely tedious. This is gonna take some, all excited. All right, so what I want you to do right now is read through this problem by yourself. I want you to circle, highlight, underline, anything you feel is important in this problem in your first read. We're gonna talk about it. Don't start working on it yet. I just want you to read the problem to yourself. Go. And reading the problem, just look up here so I know we're done. I want to have everybody have enough time to fully read the whole problem. Read the problem by yourself. Let's read through it once as a class. We're going to talk about what's important in this problem, what do we understand, what is the problem asking us to do, etc. Alright, so it says, Miss Olivier always buys scarves as holiday presents for the girls in her family. On Cyber Monday, she went on to New York and Company's website and saw they were having a 30% off sale. Okay, so, what information in this problem is important? What's important? That there's a 30% off sale. So 30% off, we want to make sure that we highlight this sale, right? That's important for us. If I'm going to buy them online, I'm going to get 30% off. What else is important? So paying a $2 shipping fee, also important. That's going to come into play in my final cost, right? What else is important? 8% tax. So I'm going to have to pay 8% tax. After discount's important too, right? We're not paying 8% on the original price of the scarf. It's after we've done the discount, we're gonna pay 8%, okay? Anything else? Only for online purchases. So I'm only getting that 30% off if I buy it online. Do you see my predicament? Your job right now, all I want you to do, let's kind of play around with this a little bit and look at the first couple rows in the table. So we'll start with this infinity scarf that's $18.99. So I have to think about all three of those things and figure out how much is my credit card going to be billed for this one scarf, for this online cost. Go ahead and work with your partner next to you. See if you guys can put your heads together and come up with how you will figure out that online cost for the scarf. Yeah, calculators are there for you. That's why you got them. So what would we start with? So we have $18.99. So the shipping's gonna be at the very end, right?
But it'd still be the same either way.
Either way, I'm gonna have to add 2, but am I adding that to $18.99? With the, yes, yeah, you're right, you look at the third. So that's the 13.29 represents the price after your discount, okay? So 8%, how do I write that as a decimal? 0.08, okay. What are we doing first? What's your first calculation? You guys are typing away there, but I don't see any on your paper, so. Okay. Okay.
And then they'll have to do that.
Okay.
And then we added our $2 for the.
Okay.
Serious.
All right.
That's how you do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, is my shipping fee gonna be before tax or after tax? After tax. If you've done any online shopping, your tax will be calculated and it'll give you that dollar amount and then it goes like +2 for your shipping fee. Your shipping fee will end up being after you do your tax. That's fine, that's fine for me as well. So explain to me what you did here with this.
It was 30% of $18.99, was $5, so then I subtracted $5 on the $18 to find out how much it would cost us.
Okay, so this is your price after 30.
Yeah.
Okay, then what do we do?
And I brought it over here and I added the 8% tax.
Okay.
$14.35 and then I added the $2 shipping.
$16.35. All right, awesome. I love this that you did. I haven't seen anybody else in the class do this yet.
That's how my mom makes me do it.
What type of, do you know what this is called? This type of equation and proportion, yeah. So it's an easy way, instead of having to deal with the decimals in there, to deal with those percents. I like it. I think that's fabulous. Can I call you up to show me this?
You can take that up.
Come on, you can help me out, right? All right, thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give you about 1 more minute to just finish at least the online cost, and I'm gonna call some people up to the board to share with us what they did to calculate online cost. All right, regardless of where you are, I would like you to put your pencils down. I would like you to physically turn your chair towards the front like you're an audience. Because I'm gonna call some people up to the board and I want to be fully focused. So go ahead and kind of turn a little bit, pencils down. All right. I'm gonna open it up to volunteers here. There's a couple people that I'm gonna call up for sure that I want them to show their way, but would anybody like to volunteer to walk us through how they got that online cost? Maybe somebody from the middle back table there. Kevin? In fact, you know what? Whole group, come on up. Everybody. You guys get up. You got this. You got this. No man is an island. We're all gonna be up here. First of all, let's give him some props for coming up as a whole group. Let's get it up here. That's awesome. Okay. So I want you to walk through what you guys did with your $18.99.
Well, first we multiplied 18.99 by 0.3.
Do you do your paper?
It was the 30% off.
So right now we're just concentrating on their thinking, just ready for some questions, comments, and concerns, okay? So $16.51 for your online cost. All right, before we talk about whether we like it or not, or if we have a question, a comment, or concern, do we understand what they did?
Yeah.
All right, so that's our main focus, right? Do we understand what they did? Okay, so somebody walk me through, restate what their thinking was to get to that $16.51. Okay, so Gabe, right? All right, Gabe, nice and loud for all of us. Can restate what they did?
They did the 30%, then they added the $2, and then they did the tax.
So they did 30% first, which gave them $5.70 off. Put that in to get a price, then did the $2, then did the 8%. Are we clear on what they did?
Yep.
All right, so now let's open it up for if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns about what they did. You guys have the floor, so you call on whoever you want.
Yes.
Aren't you supposed to do the shipping cost after the tax? Like do the 30%, then the tax, then add the $2?
Okay, so let's put that back to the room.
Oh, yeah.
So she's making the claim that she thinks that they should have done the $2 after. Anybody agree, disagree with that?
I agree.
You agree. Raise your hand if you guys did the $2 at the very end. You did 8% first? All right. So those of you at the front, are you okay with what they're thinking and why they would do that?
Yeah, it makes sense now.
It makes sense now. Okay, so I don't want you to erase anything, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to give you guys a chance to fix it. Let me see. Awesome. Okay. So over here now, they're saying that this, are we cool with this first step for them?
Yeah.
We're cool with this? We're cool with 570?
Yeah.
All right. But you want... Then, towards the end of class yesterday, we were focusing just on this first infinity scarf that was $18.99 and trying to figure out exactly what the cost would be for us to buy it online with all those three things, with the discount, with the tax, and the shipping fee. And I'm gonna call you guys back up so we can wrap up our conversation from yesterday. Alright, so to recap their thinking, does anybody remember what it was they were doing yesterday on this problem? By the way, if you could turn your chairs forward a little bit so we can get back to our audience mode, have the conversation. Can somebody recap for me what they had done before our class ended yesterday? You could, sure, go ahead.
Well, we were talking about how we did the shipping fee before we did the tax, so the price would be wrong.
Okay, so we were all kind of talking about how that might be incorrect. And so you wanted to make what change for your calculations?
We wanted to do the tax after we did the 30% off.
Okay, so now you're saying 1635?
Yep.
Alright. Do we agree, disagree? Any questions, comments, or concerns with what they did up there?
Yeah.
Would you actually calculate the tax for the original price and not for the discounted price?
Wait.
I don't know.
Okay, class conversation, so where do we put in that tax? Is it on the discounted price or is it on the original price?
It's on the,
You guys, before, you call it who you want.
it's on the discounted price because on the paper it says tax of 8% after discount.
Tax of 8% after discount, okay? So we're good with the 8% there on the 1329? Alright. Is there anything up there that we are concerned about? We're good? You sure? Okay, so let's move on. Thank you. Give them a round of applause for coming up again. So take a few minutes right now to complete your table using this cost function for the online price. We're not going to worry about So there were 30 students that did the exit slip, and this is one of our formative assessments. I did a lot of monitoring during and kind of checking for understanding and seeing where the kids were and made a lot of adjustments throughout the lesson, but this is another way that I could kind of see in writing each individual student what they really understood so far. So the first question was write down everything you understand about functions. And the kids did awesome. Out of the 30, there were only 5 that didn't write anything around that core math idea, that didn't include, the idea that every input can only have one output.
So looking at the data that you received from the exit slip, what would you do to differentiate your instruction in order to support these 5 students who weren't able to get that core math idea of the input-output function?
I think I would just re-mention it up at front from the front of the room, but then also as I was walking around the room, I would make sure I hit each one of these students and worked on that idea with them.
This was a very open question, just like write everything you understand about functions. And that was the main thing that we were looking for, but there were some other things that kids did put down in addition. Some wrote about notation, and there was only 6 kids that mentioned very specifically like domain and range. And so we want to make sure that the kids understand that too. So I would possibly maybe in a warm-up or something, kind of put that question out there again and be able to have a whole class conversation. Because
Definitely. I'm planning on doing the whole class with that. I think also in the next section it reiterates the domain and range, and so we'll go into that again.
Okay, yeah.
I think that comes up too in the next question that was asked on if it is a function or not a function by looking at the table. I know there were 2 students that kind of misunderstood that part of it. So how are these students going to be supported in your re-engagement lesson?
Possibly with these 2 students, it could have just been a misread of the question. They're both good students, and So I would just make sure that I walked around and I would talk to each one of them individually, not single them out, but definitely reiterate that are they understanding what a function is in the one input and one output.
Yeah, because this, in number 2, they were asked to give an example of an input-output table that's not a function. And they were the only 2 that their tables actually did represent functions. But I thought it was interesting if we go back and look at their number 1s, the response to number 1, that the first student did actually say one input can't have 2 or more outputs. So he understands the core math idea. He might just, like you said, either misunderstood the problem and maybe was like, I'll give you an example of one that is a function and didn't realize that you're supposed to give one that's not. So definitely just checking in and making sure that he's clear on that. And like Jessica said, that idea of re-engagement, it's not remediation, we're just re-engaging them with that content again so that we can better assess them and make changes in our instruction as needed. The only other thing that came up was in question number 3, I kind of just very specifically, because I was trying to use different strategies with the class, said what did Miss Olivier do over the last 4 days of class that helped you learn? And 12 of the 30 students did mention that they enjoyed and that it was helpful for them to be able to talk and work with partners. And I know you already have your room set up with groups. So how do you think you could maybe re-engage them with a lot more of that conversation, that collaborative conversation?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to use the conversation. I like to have them work together. And going back to these students, I can pair them up with someone who could actually maybe explain it in a different way that me or you didn't get through to them. And
Yeah,
so,
but if they're sitting in that group, and they're really solving a problem together and really collaborating on it, not just working kind of side by side on stuff, but actually putting their heads together to solve. Because that SCARF problem was difficult and they struggled, and I know that we would think 9th graders would be a lot better with percents and decimals at this point, but it's something that I think even adults forever still struggle with. But having somebody next to them to kind of work through and talk about it together was helpful for them as well. So I'd encourage you to bring in as many of those kind of task problems that we give a lot of them out of the PDs too, but to try to engage the kids and get them to collaborate together to solve problems. So overall, our next steps then, so this was kind of wrapping up that first investigation, chapter 5. So you mentioned that you're planning on kind of doing some warm-ups, re-engaging with this idea of everything they know about functions, especially coming back from winter break. They're going to need some time with that. And then checking in with these specific students overall as well to just recheck for their understanding to make sure that it's solidified before you get to that chapter assessment, so you can make adjustments along the way. Well, thank you very much for letting us come in and invade your class for 4 or 5 days. We appreciate it. It was fabulous getting back in and working with the students, and we look forward to seeing what else you have going on.